everybody, welcome back to another review. Today we're going to be talking about Scott Derrickson's follow-up movie, The Black Phone 2.
So today we're going to be talking about the movie The Black Phone 2, which was directed by Scott Derrickson. This was a movie when the first one originally came out. This was a movie that was easily on my most anticipated list of that year. And I can go without saying that I loved that movie. That movie was so good. I thought it was creepy. I thought all the performances was really done in the movie. I thought Ethan Hawke did such a good job of having to play this sadistic serial killer, but having this type of different flavor to him, like where he would play like really sadistic and creepy, and like where you just did not want to be around it. But then he also had this like gentle side to him that he would play into, and how he was able to just snap in and out of that, I thought worked so well with the movie and with the story overall. Now, this was a movie when they first announced that they were doing a sequel. I was like, how? Especially when they announced that they were bringing Ethan Hawke back, because spoiler alert, if you have not seen the first Black Phone, he dies. And so I was kind of like, how are they going to do that? So I wasn't really on board for a sequel. I really thought The Black Phone was just a really good standalone movie. But as time went on, I started to hear a little bit of inklings for ideas that they were going to have, and I thought it could be really cool with the direction they were going to do if they could pull it off and execute it correctly. And without spoiling anything before getting to the end of my review, but I absolutely loved this sequel. So this movie had its world premiere at South by Southwest just literally a few weeks ago, and most of the people that I've seen who saw the movie were very high on it. There were a few people that were a little bit mixed on it. And from what I've seen online from people talking and from people at the festival and just things that I've read, if you like the first movie, apparently it seems that people do not like the second one. And if you weren't too big on the first one, you'll love the second one. And for me, I must be on an island, or I don't know if it's just me, but I really enjoy the first one, and I absolutely love this sequel. There was about probably a point midway through this movie that I thought to myself, if this movie keeps going at this momentum and keeps going in this direction, I will probably without a doubt really, really love this. This sequel picks up so many years later, and obviously our character's a little bit older, and they're kind of going through some stuff. Finney is kind of dealing with this whole traumatic thing of having to deal with the grabber and like the stuff that he went through with that, so he's kind of carrying a lot of weight from that. And he's very angry about it. It's like he don't know really what to do with that. He does what most men do, where they just push it down and suppress it, and they're just like, yeah, fuck it, it's fine, it'll be all right. His sister, on the other hand, she's still having, dreams about certain events, and that's what kind of kicks off the story. She starts having dreams about this particular youth camp that's in the mountains of Colorado. And that's what really leads our characters to this new setting for this movie, which I think is an awesome setting for a horror movie. Mainly because I absolutely love when horror movies are set in the snow. Something about the snow, especially at night in horror, if it's done correctly and shot certain ways, it helps add this creepy, eerie atmosphere to what stuff that's already going on. And it's almost like its own character of a movie. And it does so well. Like the snow in this movie, it does so well at setting just a great atmosphere to where it feels so brutally cold. I would put this movie for me up there in one of those winter movies I would want to watch, like when it gets really cold out, or if we're lucky enough to get a snow where I live, that like The Shining, for example. The Shining is one that if it snows or if it's super bitter cold out, I love to watch The Shining because it has that just feel to it. And I can easily see this movie falling into that same category for me, where if it's super cold out or one of those just snow days, I could pop this on and it just adds something to the flavor of the movie. Plus, it's shot in Colorado, the mountains of Colorado, so any of the shots of like the mountains or the countryside or anything like that looks absolutely stunning. I think the acting in this movie overall is fantastic. I think all the characters, all the returning characters from the first movie, all do such a fantastic job. They have to go into such emotions in this movie and such range of emotions that I buy in and believe everything that they are trying to convey. Mason Thames does a fantastic job as Finney. He takes more of a back seat in this movie. This is more of his sister's movie. Not saying that he's not the main character, but he's not as front and center as he was in the first movie. This is definitely more of his sister's movie. He does such a great job of having to convey that emotion of just what he's feeling from the first movie and holding on to like that anger and being scared and afraid and just trying so hard to ignore it. He does such a great job at that. Ethan Hawke, again, is the grabber. He's not in this movie a lot, obviously, but when he shows up, it is so effective and so creepy. While in the first one, like I said in the beginning of the review, he had a little bit more of that playfulness to him along with the sinister side of him. In this movie, he is just straight evil. He is, just straight mean and sinister, and he's there for one reason only. So Ethan Hawke brings it, and like I said, he does such a fantastic job. But the standout character for me overall is our lead of this movie technically, and that is Madeline McGraw. She's the one who played Gwen, who was Finn's sister in the first movie. I thought she was so good in the first movie, but in this movie, she has a lot more to do, and she has so much more time to shine. And I think she is a phenomenal actress. I think at some point down the road, she will get some kind of project that will easily get her an Oscar nomination. She is just so good at everything she tries to portray in this movie, and she has to go through so many range of emotions in this movie, and she nails every single one of them. She is so good. She is really by far the heart of this movie, and she delivers on everything. She is so good. This is a movie that we get these different side characters that come in throughout the movie. Like, obviously their dad comes back, and when they go to the camp, there's a few counselors and adults in supervision and all that stuff there. And I genuinely like every single one of these side characters. There's even a side character that's in the movie that's almost becomes like a co-lead, honestly, throughout the movie. And it is a character that is almost like this love interest for Gwen. I don't want to give away who the character is because it's a callback to the first movie, and so I don't want to spoil anything. While you get to know them a little bit, you are still just invested in them as you are the characters of Finney and Gwen, which I think is great because most horror movies, slasher movies, whatever, if we're lucky, most characters, especially side characters, they're literally just there to be killed off. And then in this movie, I feel like each character kind of brings something to the story and does a really good job at that. So this movie as well has a ton of Nightmare on Elm Street, I wouldn't say references, but I would say inspiration, because there is scenes in this movie that would be straight out of a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, because essentially that's how they bring the grabber back. He's almost like this Freddy Krueger type guy, and those sequences where you get those moments like that are so well done. There was one in particular, I think it's really the first time that Gwen really ever encounters the grabber in her dreams, that I literally had full body goosebumps because I was like, this is great. I don't know if I'm just Nightmare on Elm Street starved and want another Freddy movie or what, but it was just so well done. And there's not a lot of those scenes in the movie, but I feel like there's just enough to get the story going and to keep it going and to keep you very much interested throughout it. And those scenes, when they do hit, they are very, very effective, and they do keep you right on the edge of your seat the entire time. I did see where a lot of people said that they love that element, but they wish there was more of that in here, and I can see that. I would have, selfishly, I probably would have taken another one or two scenes like that, but for me, I don't personally think that the movie needed that, but that's just my opinion. This movie does a great job with the Super 8 look that they kind of did in the first one. And also, if you've seen Sinister had a lot of the Super 8 stuff. One, it showed Ethan Hawke watching the tapes or the film of the stories of all the murders that happen. And in this movie, there is a lot of that Super 8 stuff. It's almost become like this Scott Derrickson's like signature thing at this point. But there is a lot of it in this movie, and I think how it's done is super effective and super creepy. Like every time Gwen has a dream or she has some kind of vision of something, it's always in that Super 8 style of filmmaking, and it adds like that grindhouse, gritty, just look of the film, and it adds to what it's going for. And I think because of that, those sequences are so much more effective because they have so much creep value to them. Just something really, really eerie about it. And with that, I will say, I talked a little bit about this in my VHS Halloween review, which none of you have seen yet. That will be, I want to put that video out on Halloween. It's going to be my like Halloween review for everybody to check out, since that movie's mainly takes place on Halloween. I thought it'd be good for that. But I mentioned in that review how there's a segment in that review called Kid Print that does some kind of more brutality towards kids. This movie, there is some of that in here. So, like, especially when you see some of the Super 8 stuff, it shows kind of some of these murders of these kids that happened at this camp earlier on. You don't see a lot of it because of how it's shot, and with that Super 8 style, it almost looks like it's handheld in the way that it's cut, and the way the darkness kind of shrouds a lot of it. You don't see a lot. You see stuff here and there, but sometimes it takes you a minute to figure out what you're looking at. So while, yes, it is bloody and violent at those particular times, you don't particularly see a lot of it. Now, with that being said, without spoiling anything, there is a scene later on where Gwen is having this dream sequence, and you see some of the aftermath of it, and that's all I can really say without giving anything away. So it's like I said in my VHS review, know who you are going into this, because I know, you know, certain stuff with kids can easily trigger some people with stuff, and some people just don't like to watch that. And I said, for me, that's something that I guess it doesn't bother me because I don't have kids and I've never experienced anything like that. So for me, it doesn't bother me, but I know that's a big thing for people. So just know who you are going into this, because it doesn't shy away from that, but it's not as gruesome like that segment in VHS, but it's still a little bit of that in there. So still just wanted to put that out there just in case. There is an element to this movie that might not work for everybody, because I've seen how a lot of people are kind of turned off the fact that they kind of play more on Finney and Gwen's mom in this movie, and they kind of tell a little bit about that and how it connects to other things, you know, obviously without giving anything away, and sometimes tells a little bit more about the grabber's origin and kind of the stuff where he came from and all and stuff like that. And there's a lot of people that feel like they didn't need that element in this movie. And for me personally, I think the thing with their mom really comes full circle, and really, especially by the end of the movie, has a ton of heart. It adds so much heart to the movie. And I'll admit, there's a scene in the very end, near the very end, that I had me actually tearing up at it, and I thought it added just such a great heartfelt thing to this overall just dark, dreadful movie. Just like the first one, there's also a lot of humor sprinkled in throughout the movie. I think they did a good job of adding the humor where it was an appropriate place to put it, because it didn't take anything away from the scares or the tension of the movie at all. They picked the perfect place for it. And just like the first one, pretty much about every joke that they're going for really hits. And one thing real quick, circling back to something as I said earlier on in the review that I forgot to mention, I thought that I was talking about how there's a certain character that has this love interest with Gwen. I think those two actors had a really good chemistry, and I totally bought into their relationship with each other, or their blossoming relationship with each other. And I thought that the whole thing was really sweet, and it kind of added this other sense of hopefulness and lightheartedness to a, you know, like, again, this just dark movie. And every once in a while, there's a movie that comes along that you love to see how certain things end, and it will kind of get you pumped up. At least for me, there is. And this is one of those movies by the third act, the way things play out, especially when certain things are going on in the third act, that I was really leaning up in my chair and was just doing that, yeah, like type thing or whatever. And it's movies like that don't come along for me much anymore. So when they happen, I can really feel it. And this is definitely one of those third acts that had me feeling that way, and it made me love the movie so much more because of that. Overall, I think the story for this movie is really well done and really thought out. It wasn't just one of those, oh, okay, the first one made a lot of money, so we'll just shit out another one and try to make the same amount of money. I don't feel it was that at all. I feel like there was, you know, a lot of concentration that really went into this movie. Okay, we knew the first one was successful, so we want to see what else we can do in this world. And I think they did such a good job with that, especially with the tension and the scares throughout it, because there was never a point in this movie where I was ever bored. Even from the first frame of this movie, I'm hooked in, and I was on board for this movie the entire way. There's certain points where I kept leaning up in my seat because I was so into what was happening, what was going to, happening, what was going on. Never once in this movie did anything fall flat for me, or like I said, did I get bored or lose interest. The pacing is so well done, and some of the scares are really well done. There's certain things where it builds to something, and the payoff for the scare is very well done. And even, like I said, that creepiness and eeriness factor to that Super 8 look, they do such a really good job with that. And because, like I said earlier, you're already into this movie that has so much tension, but when you're watching it with that Super 8 kind of style filmmaking, something about the way that looks on screen, it just adds even more depth and layers to the already creepiness that's going on, and to me it just bumps up the tension even more. To be honest, I'm trying to think, and I really believe I don't have really any negatives or nitpicks with this movie. I just absolutely love the ride that this movie took me on, and I was on board for it, and everything just worked for me. And I will say, I really think that I do love this one more than the first one, which sometimes doesn't always happen for me. Obviously, a lot of times, the original's the best and nothing can touch it. And I give kudos and props to people, especially in this situation where, like I said at the beginning, where to me, the first Black Phone was a great standalone movie, and that's it. It didn't need to be anything else. So kudos to you for making me love a second one even more, and I just think that's a great feat for you, so congrats on that. So I would highly recommend going to check this movie out in the theaters. I think it's a perfect Halloween-style movie to go see. I'm glad they dropped it around the October time frame. It just fits perfectly. If you like the first one, I would say go check it out anyway. I mean, I know like they had the thing of, you might not like it if you like the first one and vice versa. But I don't know. Like I said, I might be on an island because I really love the first one and I loved this one even better. So I don't know what that says about me, but I recommend checking it out and giving it your time. It's worth your time and money, and I think you're just going to have a really good time with it. Real quick, before I end this, I just thought of one more thing that I really enjoyed. They do these really cool shots of the grabber throughout the movie that is so eerily and creepily done that it's so good. Like there's shots where you'll see him like kind of emerge from the shadows, and then like he'll slowly disappear in the shadows. And there is a scene where he is on like these ice skates, like kind of going towards the camera while skating with this axe. And I don't know, there was a movie that came out in the 80s called Curtains, and there's a similar scene where it's a very classical kill now that it's kind of in the zeitgeist, where the killer is on the ice skates and kills somebody that way. And I was wondering if that was like a homage to that, or if that was just a cool callback, or just something that they did by mistake and it's just there. But either way, it's still cool how all that looks. And I think, again, that makes those scenes with the grabber even more effective. But that was just a cool thing that I forgot to mention earlier. But anyway, please go check this movie out. Like I said, it's definitely worth your time. It's a great movie to see around October. And I think everybody will have a good fun time with it. Thank you, everybody. That's my review for the Black Phone 2. If this is the review that you're finding me on, please come on over and check out my channel out. I have a ton of other reviews for earlier this year. I'll try to leave a card somewhere right here for all of you guys to check out. And as always, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. That way I can see you in the next one. Thank you so much.